39 Thor against the level 37 Jae-Yun.
Yeah, lots of level 30-somethings here for the people who are sticking with their characters. Very cool to see, but here we go. Game number 1, Doggo, like you said, on the Thor. We did see Doggo make that swap over to the Fate, so there is that potential that Doggo's going to lean a little bit more towards the Orb characters. I think if he's going to go for the Orb-heavy play, maybe think about picking up Petra. We've seen Petras have a lot of success in other regions throughout the 2020 year. Of course, that is completely dependent on how confident Doggo is with the gauntlets, but it's definitely some food for thought for those of you who are thinking about the Orb. On the other side, Shadoww, of course, with the Jae-Yun. I don't think we've seen Shadoww swap at all today.
I don't think we have either, but going back to your previous point about the possible Petra pick coming out, Doggo does have a level 44 Petra, so that could be in the bag of tricks, but he did specifically mention just the Thor and the Fate. So I would actually like to see a possible Petra pick come out if it's clear that the Thor and the Fate are not working.
Well, so far, Thor looking pretty clean, getting some good damage built up. Ooh, recovery did get stuffed out. Has to fight for the wall. So many ground pounds, but Shadoww backs off. Knows the threat of that recovery. Side sig, and he's gone!
This is so good! The force of that
so early
is crazy, and he picked it up all the way over there. Doggo making the best of a kind of a rough start. It wasn't damning by any means. Like, he wasn't in the red. He wasn't close to death at any moment, but still, a little bit of a rocky start turned into something big for Doggo.
And what a turnaround, but Shadoww could get this one evened up. Three-piece gets the extra, doesn't lead for the knockout though. And Doggo going to take this opportunity. Was that a falling nair?
I think it was. I was just mostly tilted that Doggo hit the stomp, completely stacked, and did a side air the other direction. That gave Shadoww the perfect opportunity to punish.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame Doggo for going for that Sair considering the closer kill box was to the right, but I think he should have kept in mind the damage that Shadoww is at right now. Shadoww taking the lead in the damage off the Greatsword plays.
Ooh, Doggo, based on this orb so far against the Greatsword specifically, I am not wanting to see a Petra pick, hardly at all, because he is struggling to find any way in. Now he's disarmed. The neutral sig came out from Shadoww. He's able to swap over back to the Greatsword. Oh, doesn't quite get the neutral signature.
Really good spot dodge from Doggo. Doggo avoiding these kill moves coming out from Shadoww. Doesn't even want the weapon. Finally picks it up and then recognizes that recovery is coming out. Shadoww again with the falling nair to take another stock off of Doggo. And what's funny is, like, you talked about how Doggo's orb was just not really working against Shadoww. If you go and talk to most of the Greatsword players out there, like right when Greatsword came out, right when like the Greatsword Discord was starting to spin up, they were all like, orb is so good. That 45, those aerial dares are so strong.
Even just in general, Orb is still very highly thought of. Even though you don't see too much of it in tournament, a lot of very high-ranking players do still have a very solid opinion of it. Oh, nice little backstep, and still continues it. Doggo really struggling against this Greatsword.
Yeah, Shadoww is just hitting those reads, but a nice setup from Doggo, and the ground pound. Is Shadoww gone? Shadoww can't touch? How Doggo is like stealing stocks.
And that was like an almost completely point-blank ground pound too. I can't believe that ended up hitting. Here you see the beginning. You're talking about theft. You're about to see it right now. And this is definitely theft over 1,000. It becomes a federal crime when you KO someone like that.
Oh my goodness. And I'm almost upset that they're so eager to go into this next one because I want to see the graphs, because Doggo was getting these stocks so early. Look at even this one, this third stock, just that single ground pound before Shadoww could get back to the wall. But they're ready. They're banning out maps. Small Brawlhalla still on the board. Shadoww leaving it there despite the fact that we've seen Thor side signatures kill incredibly early on Small Brawlhalla, but it looks like it's going to be APOC for game number 2.
Going into this, we are seeing a defense stance from Doggo's Thor and a strength stance from this Jae-Yun from Shadoww. So maybe giving him a little bit more mustard there to KO with those neutral airs off the top. Seems like that seems to be one of his more favored KO options. A lot of Greatsword players love the recovery, but maybe Shadoww is feeling a little bit more confident with the neutral air. Doesn't have quite as beefy of a startup.
Yeah, it's definitely the safer of the two kind of like vertical aerial options. Oh my goodness, Shadoww really utilizing that soft platform. Doggo does eventually get Shadoww back onto the stage, onto the ground for some damage build. Shadoww has a weapon of his own.
A little bit surprised that stomp side air from Doggo ended up hitting. Oh, the 45-degree angle behind. Still gets picked up by that hammer nair. Oh, D-Light Dare after 2 side airs. Shadoww finding some good damage here, keeping it even, but just a raw jump side air as Shadoww moves over to grab the weapon spawn. Ground pound comes in, almost gets the dare. A little bit too far to the left.
Is it from Shadoww with the nair. Doggo, again, struggling against this greatsword of Shadoww, does avoid the dodge in read from Shadoww.
You did see him change it up there, because before he went with the sidelight nair, that ended up hitting. This time he went for the sidelight inlight in case Doggo stayed down. The backside of the neutral air still not quite enough to kill yet. The recovery still not enough to kill yet. This is why Doggo chooses defense stance. Stomp side air. No weapon toss coming out. There is no spawn for Doggo to pick up. The edge of the twister barely picks him up there.
But damage is done. Still opportunity for Doggo. Next weapon will be that hammer. Instead throws out a sidelight, and Shadoww starting to get this damage built up. A neutral light is gonna KO too. That's a lot of damage put out onto Shadoww. A very big departure from game number 1.
And Shadoww almost snuck that weapon right out from under Doggo after he threw the weapon away, threw that hammer away. Orb in hand now, not having to fight against the greatsword just yet. Was fighting against the sword, sword thrown away. In comes the greatsword, and we are already seeing damage coming out. 4 hits, there goes the dare. Tries to get the neutral signature. Sidelight, oh my gosh, he still keeps it going. Didn't go for a finisher there, so he didn't get any huge force stomp, but still, so much damage is done. Doggo is in the red. Doggo keeping it going though. The orb pressure might be too much.
Ooh. Avoided the side sig. Again, Shadoww in this spot where he's looking for these knockout moves, and he starts throwing them out, and Doggo just avoids all of them. And it ends up falling down to a neutral air, but Doggo's the one hitting the neutral airs onto Shadoww right now.
Doggo's looking for the KO moves. It's a down air. Whiffed one before. He was going for stomps as well, but he found that down air just like 1 jump height up. Putting him in a decent spot going into Shadow's final stock. It is a sword here, so he doesn't have to worry quite as hard about the big damage buildup that greatsword has. Look at this pressure he's putting out on Shadoww. A much more confident Doggo here.
Yeah, Doggo with that extra stock looking so different than that first initial start of this one. Throws out the side signature, goes for the weapon toss, but Shadoww already connecting on to Doggo. Shadoww needs to play this stock perfectly. He has the greatsword in hand, has that potential.
And the most important thing in this game so far, don't really know what that one was. That was a little bit of a Doggo gambit that did not pay off. Stomp side air though might lead to the KO option. The weapon toss isn't even necessary. Doggo is going to take game 2, and if you're a Doggo fan, the most important thing to take away from that game, other than a Doggo dub, is that Doggo didn't have to rely on stealing stocks, absolutely getting very lucky or very gutsy in some cases. Just a great game overall from Doggo.
Yeah, that was a very solid game from Doggo. Down to the last 3 maps, and it's going to be Small Mammoth Fortress for game number 3. Doggo showing that he can kind of win in almost all aspects of this one. Can win in the offstage insanity, can ultimately win out in some more standard neutral play. I think the only place where Shadoww was starting to find that edge is when it came to having those greatsword extensions. We were seeing Shadoww, I want to say, hit on average 4 to 5 moves.
Those Gala colors look so good on that Thor skin.
Oh, yeah.
It is unreal how good they look. Doggo is going to have to open up this game playing Orb into Greatsword. We'll see if he can find some of that confidence from before. Gets a nice 3-hit, started off with that neutral light. Floating a lot, but not getting hit by too many of the ground and movement options that Shadow's throwing out. Now swapping over to the hammer, goes for GC side signature. A lot of whiff moves coming out. Oh, the dare. Oh, the dare train.
Turn around. And Shadow's gone! And Shadoww, I'm sure Shadoww was feeling real good, hitting dare after dare after dare, but one turnaround, and Shadoww had burned all this movement hitting those dares and didn't have the movement to get back up.
Doggo straight up said, Lord forgive me, but I'm going to have to go back to my old ways. And he has put on the mask. He is back to thieving, baby.
stealing stocks, yoinking them with the hammers, but a nice read from Shadoww with the down signature to get the stock evener. Again, going to be sticking with the greatsword, just juggling to delay the weapon spawns.
Neutralites just a little bit in the wrong direction. There is a spawn coming in. Finds a hammer very quickly. Oh, 4-piece. Started off with that dare neutralite. Stomp right over the corner. Shadoww was a little bit too low. Just 1 piece there. Oh, no punish off for that side sig. Had too much movement going to the right side. Shadoww wasn't close enough to immediately punish.
Doggo gets a very deep grounded down air onto Shadoww. Again, going to be sticking with this hammer for the knockout potential, but Shadow's unarmed starting to pop off a little bit.
Oh, yo, Doggo ran as far away and as fast as he could. Shadoww started chasing after him, didn't immediately go for any options after he got the hit, and he got hit with a hammer. Side air and his stock was done. Doggo with a massive lead here, already up 2 games in this set. Doggo in a very good spot, goes for the D-Light dare, doesn't even attempt the recovery afterwards because he knows it hit too far to the edge of the cone, wouldn't be able to hit.
Doggo is just piecing up Shadoww, just taking the damage off of Shadoww, just getting these stocks from Shadoww, yoinking everything, hits the down signature. Shadoww running out of options here, and Doggo going deep, wants to hit a ground pound. Or, sorry, wanted to hit a recovery.
Oh, the ground pound. Spot dodge came out from Doggo. The nair finds priority, gets through that, and punishes. Doggo's punish game against Greatsword was so much better that game. You would see Shadoww throw out 1 move, maybe another move, and Doggo wouldn't immediately punish because he knew a follow-up move was coming out from Shadoww. That one would come out, and then Doggo would punish, and he got it so many times. The name of that game, other than the stock stealing, was the punish game from Doggo on Greatsword.
So many reversal situations from Doggo. You're seeing here every single time Shadoww starts to feel comfortable, starts to feel eager, is when Doggo's like, all right, now's my opportunity to steal a stock. Got that recovery when Shadoww was hitting dares, got that turnaround side air when Shadoww started chasing down with the grounded kit from the greatsword, and then got the side signature when Shadoww started feeling comfortable enough to throw out a wild side signature. Doggo was just